My rule is that you should never suffer stress because of your dissatisfaction with the performance or behavior of someone who reports to you. You should deal with it immediately. You should never go home with a problem left unresolved that you have not confronted and dealt with in some way. Here's how you do it. First, call the person in and discuss the problem in private, with the door closed. Never criticize or correct someone in the presence of others. Behind closed doors, explain clearly that you feel that there is a problem that should be dealt with and you want to deal with it immediately. Second, be specific about the problem or misunderstanding. Give concrete examples of why you are concerned. The more specific you can be, the more accurate and helpful can be the responses of the employee. Third, hear him or her out completely. Listen carefully to his or her side of the problem. The law of the situation says that with every problem concerning any two people, there is a different situation that requires different rules and decisions to deal with it. You will often find his or her side of the problem throws an entirely new light on the situation. Fourth, if he or she is at fault in some way, discuss and agree on how his or her performance is to change, and by how much. People cannot hit a target that they cannot see. When you point out exactly what needs to be done to resolve this challenge, people will then know exactly what they have to do to get back on top. Fifth, monitor the agreed-upon decision and follow up the discussion. Give feedback and additional help whenever necessary. Be supportive and helpful. Sometimes a problem employee can be turned into a superstar under the right manager. Finally, keep accurate notes and records of the discussion. If you suspect that this problem may be the tip of an iceberg that will lead to the severance of the employee, protect yourself by keeping a written record of the discussion, when and why it took place, and what was agreed upon as a solution. This can save you an enormous amount of trouble later. Satisfy their key needs. To hold on to good people and to keep them performing at their very best, you need to satisfy their emotional needs just as food satisfies their nutritional needs. Each person has three major emotional needs in the world of work. These are for dependence, independence, and interdependence. Dependence needs refers to the need that everyone has to be part of something bigger than himself or herself. People want to belong to something bigger than themselves. People want to feel that what they are doing makes a difference in the world. People want the security, comfort, and satisfaction of being under the umbrella of a larger authority or organization. You satisfy this dependency need by continually making people feel happy and secure that they are working with an organization that is making a difference in the world. This satisfied dependency need is a major source of loyalty and commitment. Satisfy their needs for independence as well. Each person has needs for independence. This is the need to stand out from the crowd, to be recognized as special and important on the basis of his or her own personal qualities and accomplishments. Whenever you say or do anything that makes a person feel great about themselves as an individual, you satisfy these needs for independence. The third type of needs is for interdependence, to be part of a team, to work effectively and cooperatively with others. Human beings are social animals, and they're only happy when they are working with other people in a happy, harmonious, and productive environment. The best companies and the best managers are always looking for ways to create a greater sense of harmony, happiness, and cooperation among their people. This is a chief role of management and leadership. The key to satisfying all three needs, dependence, independence, and interdependence, is for you to listen carefully, respond appropriately, and be flexible in your dealings with each person. Each person will have needs that differ in intensity from each other person. Your job is to be sensitive to these differences and respond to them in the right way at the right time. Practice participatory management. In the old paradigm, employees were grateful to have a job. They went to work and they did what was expected of them. Then they went home. Today, however, everything has changed. Today, good people want to be fully involved in their work. In fact, being in the know is considered one of the major sources of job satisfaction in the world of work. There is no other way to build a powerful, positive team of highly motivated people than by bringing them together on a regular basis to talk, discuss, argue, work out problems, make plans, and generally share information, ideas, and experiences. One of my clients told me that his company had been losing money for 2 years and was on the verge of going broke. Then he learned about the importance of weekly meetings amongst the staff at all levels. When he called his managers together for the first weekly meeting, they were extremely suspicious. But after 2 or 3 weeks of open meetings, the barriers came down and people began making suggestions to increase sales, cut costs, and improve profits. Within 6 months, the entire company had turned around. Sales and profitability soared. All the managers began having meetings with their staff every week as well. The psychological climate in the company went from fearful and distrustful to happiness and high energy in a very short period of time. Here's the rule. You should have staff meetings at least once each week with all the people who report to you. At this meeting, every person is put on the agenda as an agenda item. Every person is invited to report what they are doing, how it is working, what suggestions they have to make, and any requests for resources that they require. You will be absolutely amazed at how these open meetings build a wonderful sense of friendship and cooperation among your team. All kinds of problems get ironed out quickly. People begin to share their own personal experiences. And best of all, everyone begins to laugh together and see themselves as part of something valuable and worthwhile. The more you involve your staff at every level and in every decision, the more motivated and enthusiastic they will be to carry out the decisions and to achieve the successes that you desire. Participatory management is one of the most powerful of all motivational techniques in building a high-performance organization. Employee retention is one of the most critical elements of business success in the dynamic market of today. Once you have hired, trained, placed, and developed a team of excellent people, it's absolutely essential that you do everything possible to, as Shakespeare said, bind them to you with hoops of steel. The way that you create a great place to work is, as Edward Deming said, drive out fear. Your job is to create a high-trust environment where people feel terrific about themselves. And the way that you do this is you absolutely refuse to criticize, condemn, or complain about anything. You do not blame other people for making mistakes or for getting things wrong. You create an environment where the fears of failure and rejection that everyone has are simply eliminated from the workplace. Allow honest mistakes. The key to building a high-trust environment is for you to allow people to make honest mistakes without criticizing them or making them feel bad or deficient in any way. When people feel that they have the permission to take risks and make mistakes without any fear of retribution or criticism, they will tend to be more thoughtful and creative in achieving the company's goals than under any other conditions. Whenever somebody does something that doesn't work out, and this will happen often, instead of criticizing, you help the person to identify the valuable lesson or lessons contained in this experience. Your focus is on the future rather than the past. You focus on the solution rather than the problem. When someone makes a mistake, you ask, okay, what do we do from here? What's the next step? The next time this comes up, why don't we do it this way? You help people to learn and grow from temporary failures and setbacks. You encourage them to learn everything possible. Whenever possible, you give them rewards and acknowledgement for having taken a risk in the first place. There's a famous story told about Thomas J. Watson Sr., the founder of IBM, who called in a young vice president who had just spent $10 million on a research project that had failed completely. When the young vice president arrived, he apologized and offered his resignation to Mr. Watson. He said, "You don't have to fire me. I'll go peacefully. I know I've made a mistake." Thomas Watson replied, "Fire you? Why would I fire you? I've just spent $10 million on your education. Now, let's talk about your next assignment." The only way people can learn and grow and develop in judgment and wisdom is by trying things and making mistakes. Your job is to make sure that every lesson learned can be applied to making your company even more successful in the future. This is the way that you make your company a great place to work. Focus on the person continually. This is perhaps the most important of all. If you focus on the people will focus on the business. If you focus all of your energies on making people feel great about themselves, you will bring out from them the highest levels of creativity, positive energy, cooperation, commitment, and dedication to getting the job done and getting it done well. It's said that there are never any bad soldiers under a good general. The fact is that morale does not rise in an organization, it filters down from the top. You set the tone for the people who report to you. You are the spark plug, the quarterback, and the key factor in the production of your entire company or department. As the leader, you are the one who is more responsible than anyone else when it comes to hiring and keeping the best people, and then shaping them into a high-performance team that gets great results week after week and month after month. Treat them like volunteers. In today's job market, you should treat each person as though he or she were a volunteer. Imagine that you are running a non-profit organization or a political campaign. Imagine that everyone who comes to work for you is a volunteer who is giving up their personal time that they could quite easily spend somewhere else. Because talented people are always in demand, each person who works for you is, in effect, a volunteer as well. Each person can go somewhere else. Each person you talk to has lots of opportunities. And the better they are, the more opportunities they have, and the faster they can go somewhere else if they're not happy where they are. When you treat each person like a volunteer and continually express your appreciation to them for working with you and helping you to achieve your goals, your attitude will be considerably different. You will always be polite and courteous. You'll always be positive and encouraging. You'll always be friendly and supportive. You will never criticize or complain or get angry when things go wrong. After all, you remind yourself, these people are volunteers and they can leave at any time if they're not happy. Hire the best people. At every stage in the development of our economy, different skills and abilities are necessary to survive and thrive. At one time, you had to be hard driving and focused to get the job done and outperform the competition. You had to make sure that everybody around you was the same way. Today, however, things are different. Today, the most important skill you can possibly develop is the ability to hire and keep the best people. Your ability to do this will have a greater effect on your success and happiness than any other single skill that you can acquire. It's been said that all of life is the study of attention. Where your attention goes, your life goes as well. When you begin to pay special attention to hiring and keeping great people, you will get better and better at it. You'll become more and more skillful in your ability to interview and hire. You'll become more and more competent in your ability to manage and motivate. You'll become more and more valuable to yourself and to your organization. Chapter 8. Building Winning Teams. A clear vision backed by definite plans gives you a tremendous feeling of confidence and personal power. All work is done by teams. Your ability to assemble and manage a high-performance team of motivated individuals is the key to your value and effectiveness as an executive at every stage of your career. Team dynamics and group processes have been studied extensively at a cost of millions of dollars, involving thousands of people. Today, we know more about how you can assemble a winning team than we have ever known before. Just as you use a recipe to prepare a dish in the kitchen, there is a specific recipe that has been proven to work in building a high-performance, self-directed work team. When you apply these ideas and principles on a regular basis, until they become habitual and automatic, you will get far greater results from your people than you ever imagined possible. The average employee works at only 50% of capacity. According to studies and observation, people spend much of their time in idle chit-chat with coworkers, surfing the internet, going to coffee and taking long lunches, reading the newspaper, taking care of personal business, and both coming in late and leaving early. Your staff costs run 60 to 80% of your total costs for operating your business. Your job is to get your highest return possible on your investment in your human assets. Today, all work is done by teams. Unless you run a shoeshine stand, you are dependent upon many other people for the quality and quantity of your work, and many other people are dependent upon you. The manager's output is the output of the team, and the output of the team is the manager's output. You do not perform alone, you perform with others. Because of this, you must have a total commitment to peak performance from every single team member if you are going to win games. There are two dimensions upon which you can measure and analyze each employee. These two dimensions, competence and commitment, allow you to categorize your people into 4 quadrants. Imagine a box divided into 4 squares. The upper left-hand square contains those people who are both competent and committed. These are the outperformers who accomplish 80% of the results and are your most valuable people. These are the 20% of people that you build your business around. The second quadrant, upper right, contains people who are competent but not committed to you, your company, or the values that you stand for. They do a good job, but they do not buy into your business. These people turn out to be the major source of problems internally and externally. These are the people who complain, play politics, resist your authority, and often demoralize the other people around them. Your strategy with these people is to sell them on becoming good team players. The third quadrant, the lower left-hand square, contains the people who are committed but not competent. They are nice people, but they are not excellent at their work. These people can be trained. Your goal should be to give them the training and experience necessary to move them up into the competent and committed quadrant. The worst people of all are those people in the lower right-hand quadrant, people who are neither competent nor committed. Once you have identified these people, you must get rid of them as quickly as possible before they drag down the rest of your organization. There are 2 basic needs of employees. The rule is that when people feel great about themselves, they perform at their very best. Your job as the leader is to create the kind of environment where people feel free to perform at their best. According to psychologists, people have 2 basic needs at work. Their first need is for autonomy, the need to stand out as an individual. Employees need recognition for their own personal actions and accomplishments. The second need that each person has is for dependence, as we talked about earlier, the need to be and feel a part of something bigger than they are. The best leaders continually look for ways to create a culture of inclusion where people feel happy and motivated to be a part of your business. There are 4 factors of motivation. People at work are motivated most by these factors. The first is challenging, interesting work. Most people want to be busy and happy at work, doing things that keep them active and force them to stretch, to move out of their comfort zones, to continually learn and grow. Second, people are highly motivated by working in a high-trust environment. This is created by keeping people in the know. When people feel that they know everything that affects their work and their position, they have higher levels of trust and motivation to perform than if they feel that they are being kept in the dark. Perhaps the best way to keep people in the know, as I've emphasized throughout this book, is to have regular weekly staff meetings where everyone gets a chance to talk about what they are doing in front of everyone else. This is one of the most powerful team-building exercises of all. Third, people are motivated by being made personally responsible for results. This is one of the most powerful tools of all to build confidence and competence in people. Give them important, challenging work to do, and then support them while they do that work. The more responsibility a person takes on, the more he or she grows as a decision maker and leader, and the more valuable he or she will be to your company. Fourth, people are motivated by opportunities for personal growth and promotion. Many people will take or stay at a job that pays less than they can earn somewhere else if they feel that they are becoming better and more competent as a result of the work they do. They know inherently that these additional skills and this additional experience will make them more valuable in the future. Much to the surprise of most managers, money and working conditions are 5th and 6th on the list of what motivates people at work. The dynamics of top teams. The dynamics of top teams and the reasons for their performance have been studied for many years all over the world. The teams in these studies had all accomplished remarkable business successes. They had reduced costs dramatically in short periods of time in order to stay competitive in tough markets. They had often reduced product development time down from 3 years to 6 months. Some had created brand new products and industries in the face of vigorous competition and gone on to world domination. Each of these top teams seems to have 5 characteristics in common. Number 1 is shared goals. The first characteristic of top teams is that they have shared goals and objectives. Each team member was perfectly clear about the job to be done. They knew the answer to the question, what exactly are we trying to do? The members of the best teams discussed and agreed on the ideal future vision of what the perfect product or service would look like, or what their goal would look like if they achieved it. Top teams seem to be highly interactive. They discuss, explain, and agree completely on exactly what needs to be done. There's a direct relationship between the amount of time taken to discuss the goals of the team and the level of commitment of each person to achieving those goals when the discussion is over. When the team comes together, the first question to ask is, what results are expected of us? What are we trying to do? How are we going to go about doing it? The second area to be resolved is our standards of performance. How will we measure progress, and how will we know that the job has been done well? You can't hit a target that you can't see. If people are not clear about the results or clear about how results will be measured, the job usually does not get done, or if it does get done, there are unnecessary delays, problems, and defects. Number 2, shared values. The second quality of top teams seems to be shared values, shared beliefs, and shared principles. Prior to beginning the team task, the members sat down and asked, what do we stand for? What do we believe in? What are our common unifying principles? How will we govern our relationships together? On what basis? Do we believe in the importance of integrity, of being honest and open at all times with each other? Do we agree that, although we disagree, we will each show respect for each other? Will we always tell the truth? Will we resolve to accept responsibility and refuse to make excuses when things go wrong? Living in harmony with your innermost values and convictions is essential to feeling good about yourself and your work, and to performing at your best. It is said that every human problem can be resolved with a return to values. What are yours? The third quality of high-performing work teams is shared plans. Everyone discusses and agrees on both the goal and how that goal is to be achieved. Socrates said that we only learn something by dialoguing about it. Once you are clear about goals and standards, you have to set deadlines and sub-deadlines on each task. Each person must know exactly what he or she is expected to do, and to what standard and by what time. The best thing about this group discussion is that at the end, there is clear illumination of individual responsibility. Everybody knows exactly what they're expected to do, and they know what everyone else is expected to do as well. One of the biggest motivators of excellent, timely work is peer pressure. When everyone knows what everyone else is expected to do, there's a powerful unspoken pressure not to fail in the performance of your task. Everyone else is watching and evaluating. Shared ownership of a desired result leads to a feeling of mutual commitment and empowerment. It gives people feelings both of autonomy and dependence. It makes individuals feel proud of themselves and their personal performance and feel happy to be part of a larger team. Number 4 is clear leadership. The fourth quality of high-performance teams is that the team leader is visible. He leads the action. He is out in front. The team leader practices hands-on management. He keeps involved with each person and each task, continually inviting feedback, encouraging, and giving input. Top team leaders lead by example. They set the standard. They see themselves as role models for others and always carry themselves as though everyone else was watching, even when no one is watching. The best team leaders accept total responsibility for the members of the team. They go to bat for them when there are internal misunderstandings or difficulties. They stand up for them if they are criticized or attacked by other people. They are loyal to the members of their team, and the members of their team are well aware of this. A good team leader acts as a blocker. always looking for ways to remove obstacles from the path of performance of individual team members. The leader runs interference and gets the team member the time, money, and resources he or she needs to get their job done. The good team leader sees himself as a helper and as a facilitator of teamwork and team activities. The fifth key to building high-performance teams is continuous evaluation and appraisal. Most activities and projects at work have problems and unexpected reversals over and over again. Mistakes are more common than successes. The best rule to adopt is that failure is merely another form of feedback. Good teams are continually asking their customers, the people who use their work, for feedback. In business, everyone has several customers. Your boss is a customer. He or she plays a huge role in your success or non-success. Your peers or colleagues, who also depend upon you to do your job, are your customers as well. You must be clear about what they want and expect from you. As a leader, your staff are your customers as well. If you do not take good care of them, you will be unable to satisfy the customers on either side of you and your boss above you. Finally, you must be hypersensitive to your customers in the marketplace, the people who buy or don't buy your product or service. Good teams are continually asking their customers how they feel about their current performance and what they could do better in the future. Top teams also use negative feedback to improve performance. If a customer complains, they ask what they could do in the future to please the customer more in some way. Top teams incorporate negative feedback, complaints, product or service deficiencies, and negative comparisons with competitors into their thinking and look for ways to resolve them in product design or delivery. Their motto is, "Complaints are good." Practice participative management. In top teams, the leader spends 75% of his time out of his office and interacting with team members. This enables the leader to give continuous, timely, and relevant feedback, not having to wait several days or weeks to discover a problem. Top team leaders use participative management when they interact with people. They listen more than they talk. They ask a lot of questions about how things are going and listen closely to the answers without feeling the need to immediately reply or to become defensive. The best teams meet regularly, at least once weekly, even if by conference call, to discuss the work in progress. Each person explains what he or she is doing, what problems and concerns they might have, and their plans for the coming week. People ask questions and get answers. Best of all, regular team meetings build morale and loyalty. They increase harmony and cooperation. They maximize efficiency and effectiveness. There are 4 stages of team performance. In team dynamics, there are 4 stages of development. They are forming, storming, norming, and performing. First, the team forms. The members come together. Everyone is happy and looking forward to the work of the team. Morale is high. Expectations of high performance are high at this point, but little gets done. Then reality sets in. Areas of disagreement arise. People take sides. Egos get involved. As the team begins to argue and debate over the goals and the means of attaining those goals, they move into the storming phase. Performance plunges. Nothing gets done. As they get to know each other and discuss the goals and how each can help to achieve them, they move through the storming phase. Each person becomes more comfortable with his or her role, and they move into the norming phase. Performance begins to pick up as the team starts to work more smoothly together. Finally, the team starts to work together smoothly and cohesively, and they move into the performing stage. At this stage, the team starts to achieve real results. The key to high-performance work teams is harmony. Just as in a family, harmony is the key to happy relationships. At work, it is the same. Managing your team. Top teams and good leaders practice what is called management by exception. This means that once the task has been assigned, as long as it is on schedule and on budget, no reporting is necessary. The individual only has to report back if there's an exception to the agreed-upon plan and schedule. The better and more competent your people are, the more you can manage by exception with them most of the time. You can also practice management by responsibility. You make people completely responsible for the successful completion of a particular task. You then get out of their way and leave them alone. It is amazing what people will accomplish when they feel that they are personally responsible and that they have no excuses to fall back on. Assume the best. One of the most important behaviors of the leader, as I've mentioned before, is to always assume the best of intentions on the part of each team member. When something goes wrong, be patient, ask questions, get the facts, and assume that there is a good reason for the problem. Poor leaders and managers often jump to conclusions, seeing a problem or mistake and immediately assuming that the individual involved has done it stupidly or maliciously. This attitude leads to anger, defensiveness, and demoralization. Always assume the best of intentions, no matter what happens. Perhaps the most important part of bringing out the best in people is for the leader to create a high-trust environment. When employees are asked about how they define high trust, they say that I always felt I could make a mistake without being spoken to rudely, punished, or fired. Remember, no one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes all the time. Your job as a leader is to create an environment where people feel free to make mistakes and to correct them quickly, moving on to the next task. To create such an environment, you must bite your lip, take a deep breath, and just let things pass. Resolve conflict among team members. Whenever there is conflict among team members, the leader brings them together and forces them to work it out one-on-one. There's no gunny-sacking and no hidden agendas. Everyone is encouraged to be straightforward and honest about their feelings and frustrations. It is seldom possible for people to work together in a close environment without friction and disagreements. The only thing that matters is how effectively these clashes are dealt with so that they can be resolved and everyone can get on with the job. This is a responsibility of the leader. People often drop the ball. People disappoint and fail to deliver the expected results on time. Often people will do substandard work. Peter Drucker said that the only thing that you will always have in abundance is ordinary people. All work must be designed so that it can be done to an acceptable level of quality by ordinary people. Appraise performance professionally. The rule is to praise in public, appraise in private. Whenever there's a problem of any kind, be patient and wait for an opportunity to discuss it behind closed doors. Sit down with a person who has done an unsatisfactory job and define the problem clearly and accurately without blaming or attacking. Your goal is performance improvement, not punishment. You want to find out what has happened, why it happened, and what can be done to make sure that it does not happen again in the future. The key is for you to focus on the future rather than the past. You say words like, "Next time this happens, why don't we do this?" In the future, let's do it this way. From now on, let's take this approach. After you have discussed the performance problem, get agreement from the other person on what is to change and by how much. What is the task to be done and how will it be measured? What is the deadline for completion? Schedules are very important. At the end of this discussion, you end with praise and a reaffirmation of confidence in the employee. After a performance appraisal, the employee should leave your presence feeling happier and more secure than before. There are two characteristics of top team leaders in the opinions and estimations of their people. The first thing that people say about the best leaders is that, "I always knew what was expected." The second thing they say about the best leaders is, "I always felt that the boss cared about me as a person as well as an employee." Confucius said, "With the best leaders, when the work is done, people will say, 'We did it ourselves.'" This is the key to building high-performance work teams. The purpose of assembling a team is to accomplish bigger goals than any that would be possible for the individual working alone. The purpose of a team is to perform, to get results, and to achieve victory in the workplace and the marketplace. Qualities of top sports teams. Many of the most successful sports teams have been studied over the years to learn the characteristics and qualities that enable them to prevail in highly competitive leagues against determined and aggressive competitors. Many of the principles practiced by winning sports teams are directly applicable to building the winning business team. Synergy, teamwork, and personal empowerment are the keys to high-performance work teams. Excellent organizations are those where people feel terrific about themselves. First, there's clear coaching and leadership. The first noticeable characteristic of winning teams is clear coaching and leadership. Everyone knows that there is someone specific who calls the plays. At work, everyone only has one boss, and everyone knows who the boss is. In winning teams, the coach, the leader, sets high standards of performance for the team. The team can never perform to higher standards than those that the leader sets and enforces. Winning teams, especially those in the best companies, expect to win, to excel, to do a good job. They take tremendous pride in the quality of their work. They're continually striving to improve. A key part of clear coaching and leadership in business and sports is that there is a high consideration factor. The leader is continually asking people about how they think and feel, both in business and in their personal lives. The feeling that my boss cares about me motivates people to do their very best. The best teams have an intensive focus on the training and development of their people. W. Edward Deming, the quality control expert, was once asked if training was mandatory. He replied, "Training in business is not mandatory, but neither is survival." According to the American Society for Training and Development, the top 20% of profit-making companies in America spend 3% or more of their gross revenues on training, and they don't cut back when the economy goes soft. They consider training to be as much of a necessity as advertising, promotion, or any other key business activities. Bring out the strengths in each person. The best teams focus on bringing out the strengths in each person. As Drucker said, the purpose of an organization is to maximize strengths and to make weaknesses irrelevant. The best teams and organizations concentrate on the basics over and over. The vice president of a large bank told me recently, "We don't do 1 million transactions per day. We do one transaction over and over again 1 million times." The top teams develop the talent they have rather than complaining about their people. Weak managers are always saying, "If only I had better people." But the job of the leader and the team is to elicit extraordinary performance from ordinary people because, generally speaking, that is all you are likely to have to work with. The best sports teams have a heavy emphasis on planning and strategy. They invest a lot of time and thought and discussion about what they are doing and how they are planning to do it. They continually analyze their own performance and compare it against their competitors. Just like winning teams, the best leaders have clear plans, goals, and objectives going into every game. The time management principle mentioned earlier says that every minute spent in planning saves 10 minutes in execution. The best teams use selective player assignments. They assign players to positions based on their potential contribution to overall team performance. They rotate a player into another position if he or she is not doing well. A rule in management is that a weakness is often a strength, inappropriately applied. Marshall Goldsmith, in his best-selling book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, points out that many executives reach a senior position with behaviors that are no longer appropriate to their greater responsibilities. To be effective in their new positions, they often have to change specific elements of their personality and adjust to the requirements of the new situation. One key aspect of excellent management in sports teams is that they encourage supportive interaction and open communication. The best teams practice a high level of give and take. There's plenty of feedback and discussion of performance. They have open arguments and disagreements. In good companies, conflict resolution is through confrontation and openness. Everyone knows what each other person is thinking because each person is open about their thoughts, feelings, and concerns. Even when there are areas of disagreement, there is respect for each other's performance and contribution to the overall team or company. Finally, top teams in both business and sports have a commitment to excellence. They do good work, win games, and are personally proud of their roles in the organization. Each person is committed to success and profitability. They're committed to doing their jobs well and better. They believe in continuous and never-ending improvement. Your ability to select the right people and then to organize them into a high-performance team that achieves excellent results is the true mark of great leadership. Chapter 9. Communicate with Power. A winner is someone who recognizes his God-given talents, works his tail off to develop them into skills, and uses those skills to accomplish his goals. Larry Bird. Fully 85% of your success as a leader will be determined by your ability to communicate effectively with others. Everything you accomplish will be associated with other people in some way, and the people in your life will account for 85% of your happiness and your success. The quality of your communications therefore determines the quality of your life. It determines the quality of your relationships of all kinds. The good news is that communicating is a skill that you can learn with practice. There are 5 goals that you want to accomplish in your interactions with others. First of all, you want people to like and respect you, to reinforce and validate your self-image. Second of all, you want people to feel that you are valuable and important, to reinforce your self-esteem and feelings of worthiness. Third, you want to be able to persuade people to your point of view, to sell your products, services, and ideas to others. Fourth, you want to get people to change their minds and to cooperate with you in achieving your goals. And fifth, overall, you want to be more personally powerful and influential in all your relationships, both personal and business. These are the keys to success in communications, in leadership, life, and love. Your emotional intelligence. Some years ago, Daniel Goleman wrote a book entitled Emotional Intelligence. He argued that EQ, emotional quotient, is more important than IQ, intelligence quotient. He concluded that your ability to persuade others is the highest form of emotional intelligence and the true measure of how effective you are as a person. The question is this: how do you get your ideas across to others, get people to cooperate with you, and develop the abilities to communicate, influence, and persuade others? People do things for their reasons, not yours. Motivation requires motive. To communicate and persuade effectively, you must find out what their motives really are. The key is to get out of yourself and get into the mind, heart, and situation of the other person. Focus on the needs and desires of the other person rather than your own. Your persuasive abilities. You can only persuade and influence others if they believe that you can do something for them or to them, or if they believe that you can stop something being done to or for them. People are motivated by 2 major factors. First is desire for gain, physical, material, financial, and emotional. And the second is fear of loss, physical, material, financial, and emotional. The rule is that the fear of loss is 2.5 times more powerful than the desire for gain in motivating human behavior. If you offer a person $1, their desire for gain is 1 in strength. But if you threaten to take $1 away, their fear of loss is 2.5 in strength. This is why the threat of loss of any kind can often trigger such strong emotions. Everything is perception. How people perceive you as being able to help them or hurt them in some way determines your ability to influence or persuade them to do what you want. Most of human behavior is based on the expediency factor. This is the natural tendency of most people to act expediently most of the time. The expediency factor is defined as this: people always strive to get the things they want the fastest and easiest way possible, with little immediate concern for the long-term consequences of their behaviors. Your job in persuasion is to make your idea or proposal appear to be the most expedient way for the other person to achieve his personal and business goals. There are 4 keys to persuasion that you can develop and use to persuade others more effectively. They are called the 4 Ps. Number 1, personal power. The more people see you as having power or control over people, money, or resources, the more open they are to being persuaded by you. 2 is positioning. Your personal credibility. How people think and talk about you. Your reputation amongst the people you are trying to persuade. 3rd is performance. Your ability and competence in your field, having a reputation for expertise and knowledge. And 4th is politeness. The use of kindness, courtesy, and respect in your dealings with other people. With regard to the 4th P, one of the most powerful influence factors in human relationships is liking. The more people like you, the more open they are to being persuaded and influenced by you. This is a key to effective communication. Make them feel important. The deepest need in human nature is to feel valuable and important. You trigger this feeling by doing everything possible to raise the person's self-esteem, to help them to like themselves even more. You should imagine that every person in your company is wearing a sign around their neck all day long that says, "Make me feel important." In every interaction with every single person, you should be responding to this basic human request. You should always be looking for ways to make people feel important and valuable as parts of your team. Practice the 4 A's daily. There are 4 key behaviors on your part that you can practice every day to make people feel important. They all begin with the letter A. Number 1 is appreciation. Take every opportunity to thank each person for everything that he or she does, small or large, in the carrying out of their duties. Every time you say thank you to a person, his or her self-esteem goes up. He or she feels better and more valuable, and he or she is even more motivated to do even more of the things for which they received appreciation in the first place. A boss with an attitude of gratitude is one of the most effective leaders in any organization. The second way to make people feel valuable is by expressing approval. Give praise and approval on every occasion for every accomplishment of whatever size. Give praise for every good effort. Give praise for every good suggestion or idea. Especially praise people when they do something that goes above and beyond the call of duty. Praise immediately, praise specifically, and praise regularly. Whenever you praise another person, they experience it physically and emotionally. Their self-esteem goes up and they feel happy inside. And whatever you praise gets repeated. In fact, the definition of self-esteem is the degree to which a person feels himself or herself to be praiseworthy. The 3rd A is admiration. The 3rd self-esteem building behavior you can practice is admiration. As Abraham Lincoln said, everybody likes a compliment. Continually compliment people on their traits, such as punctuality and persistence. Compliment them on their possessions, such as their clothes, their cars, and their accessories. Compliment them on their accomplishments, both at work and in their private lives. Every time you admire something of another person, you raise that person's self-esteem and make them feel happier and more committed to you and the company. The 4th behavior, perhaps the most important of all, is the behavior of attention. This simply means that you listen to your staff and to members of your family when they want to talk to you. Listen patiently, listen quietly, listen calmly, listen thoughtfully, listen without interrupting. Remember, you do not have to act on the suggestions of the people when they talk to you. You just have to listen carefully, nod, smile, and thank them for their input. People get tremendous satisfaction from having an opportunity to express themselves honestly to their bosses and to other important people in their lives. Your job is just to listen. Leaders are listeners. Effective listening is the key to leadership, persuasion, and good communications. It is so powerful it is sometimes called white magic. There are 4 keys to being a great listener. Number 1, listen attentively. Lean forward. Don't interrupt. When you listen attentively, you raise the other person's self-esteem and make them feel important. Number 2, pause before replying. This benefits you in 3 ways. First, you avoid the risk of interrupting if the speaker is just pausing to reorganize his or her thoughts. Second, pausing allows you to hear at a deeper level and understand more of what the speaker really means. And third, you make it clear with your silence that you are carefully considering what the other person has said, making him or her feel more important. The third key to being a great listener is to question for clarification. Never assume that you know what the other person meant by what he or she just said. Instead ask, "How do you mean?" Or, "How do you mean exactly?" Another question you can ask is, "And then what did you do?" Or, "How did you feel about that?" Rule: the person who asks questions has control over the person who is answering the questions. And the fourth key to being a great listener is to feed it back. Paraphrase it in your own words. This is the acid test of listening. Now let's talk about Aristotle's rhetoric, the three parts of any communication. According to Aristotle, each conversation or discourse is made up of three elements. Number one is the ethos, the character, the reputation, the notoriety of the person speaking. Number two is pathos, is the emotions that you address in your audience. And number three is logos, the words you use. As it happens, the emotions that you address are far more powerful than the words that you use. The words are least important. There are three elements of a spoken message. According to Albert Mehrabian of UCLA, a conversation contains three elements. Number one is body language. This is 55% of the message when you are face-to-face with a person. Number two is tone of voice. This is 38% of the message. And number three is the words themselves. Only 7% of the message. And what we know is that people believe the dominant message. If you are speaking as though you had affection for another person, but your arms are folded and you're looking away, the person will believe the body language more than the words. The importance of credibility. The most important word in persuasion, influence, and communicating with power is credibility. The key question is, how much does the person like you, trust you, and believe in what you say? The rule is that everything counts. Everything helps or hurts. Everything you do or say adds up or takes away from your credibility. Nothing is overlooked or ignored. Concentrate on developing a reputation for honesty and dependability. People will buy more and pay more from a person or company that has high credibility than from one that offers a better, cheaper product or service, but is not reliable. In communicating with power, you must look the part. To communicate effectively with others, you must look like you are credible. People are 95% visual in their thinking about you. Remember, it only takes 4 seconds to make the first impression. It takes only 30 seconds to finalize the person's initial impression of you. After the first impression has solidified, the person seeks reasons to justify and validate the impression they have already made. Simultaneously, they reject information that contradicts that impression. The next key to looking the part is to dress for success. Your clothes create as much as 95% of your first impression on others, because they cover 95% of your body. You should buy and read books and articles on how to dress powerfully and persuasively in every situation. You should look at the most successful and respected people around you and how they dress. And you should make them your role models. Copy their ways of dress and grooming. This can open more doors for you and increase your credibility more than you can possibly imagine. Now, preparation is the mark of the professional. Prepare thoroughly for every important meeting with others, especially in business. Do your homework before every meeting. You see, people know immediately when you are well prepared for a meeting. When you are, your credibility goes straight up. People know immediately when you are unprepared for a meeting. Your credibility and your ability to persuade and influence them go straight down. Now, there are 3 communication tools for success that you use on a regular basis. The one-on-one conversation, asking questions, listening, and presenting your ideas. The presentation before a group, requiring thorough preparation and good presentation skills. And number 3 is the written letter or report. This can make you or break you in business situations. The good news is that each of these is a skill that is learnable by practice and repetition. Now, there are 5 keys to an effective presentation. Number 1, prepare thoroughly in advance. Effective presentation is 90% preparation. Number 2, point of view. State your idea or goal clearly at the beginning of your presentation. Number 3, give the reasons that you have for your point of view. In other words, validate them and prove them. Number 4, give evidence for your reasons. And number 5, restate your point of view once more and call for action. The traditional speech outline. There are many books that have been written on professionals and public speaking, but they all come down to 3 key points. Number 1, tell them what you are going to tell them in your introductory remarks. Number 2, tell them your message. Give your speech. And number 3, tell them what you just told them. Summarize your key points and ask for action. If you follow this simple model, you'll probably never make another mistake in speaking in front of a group. To influence people in business, always refer back to the expediency principle. In business especially, people buy or decline to buy based on their conclusion that your offering is the fastest and best way to get what they want right now or not. Liking is the most important factor in communicating effectively in business. The more people like you, the more open they are to your influence and persuasion. Credibility and trust are the most powerful reasons for being persuaded by another person. The more a person believes you, the more open they are to accepting your recommendations. Social proof is reference to others who have bought your product or accepted your idea and who are happy with it. To use social proof, you use letters, lists, names, and photographs of satisfied customers. You build buying desire and increase your ability to persuade by focusing on the benefits and by answering the question, what's in it for me? Explain how the person will be better off using your product or service or by accepting your idea. Imply scarcity. You can often increase buying desire by suggesting that there is a limited quantity or a limited quantity at that price. Use the contrast principle. Contrast the price of your item with a similar item that is substantially more expensive. This puts your price into perspective and often makes the sale. Ask them to buy your product or service. Don't wait for them to offer. And then promise them superb quality and excellent follow-up service. Male-female communication styles. There are several differences between men and women in communicating, persuading, and influencing. Number 1, men are direct and women are indirect. Number 2, men want a recommendation. Women prefer to choose from a selection of available items. This is why women are such good shoppers. Number 3, men use words as tools to do a job. Women use words to connect, nurture, and build relationships. Number 4, men like to make quick, practical decisions. Women prefer to listen to their emotions and decide more slowly. Number 5, men are motivated by success, status, power, results, and achievement. Women are more concerned with family, children, friends, and relationships. Number 6, men like to talk about sports, business, and politics. Women prefer to talk about people, relationships, and emotions. Number 7, men can only focus on one thing, one sensory input at a time. Women can both talk and listen, interact, and do other things simultaneously. 8, to get along better with women, men need to ask more questions, listen more attentively, offer fewer suggestions or solutions. 9, to get along better with men, women need to be more direct, to be clear about what they want, and to ask for help or involvement. Remember, men cannot read minds. Women can. Men do not think a lot about relationships or communications. Women think a lot about them. And men have very simple inner lives. Women are far more complex. Resolve today to become an expert in communicating with power. Read books on the subject. Attend courses on effective communications. And most of all, practice, practice, practice. My